find true value in me, in my family. I rather spend time with my kids, ride my motorcycle. I love riding bikes, just be here, have fun, enjoy life, because you'll never get that time back. So that's the true wealth, time.
Welcome to The Path to Wealth, the show about well-being, fulfillment, and financial freedom. And I'm your host, Hennche. Welcome back to The Path to Wealth. I'm your host, Hennche. Today we're joined by an accomplished real estate professional carving out his path as a multifamily syndicator, entrepreneur, and residential realtor in New Jersey, having successfully transitioned from a W-2 employee to a thriving entrepreneur. Vlad's personal journey and experience are poised to strike a chord with our valued audience. With his formidable presence in the real estate industry, Vlad and his team has honed their expertise and strategically grown their portfolio to an impressive over 500 units apartment investment portfolio. However, Vlad's passion extends beyond personal success, and he's big into mindset. So welcome to the show, Vlad, and I want to hear more about the mindset it took to actually buy one of the assets that we previously owned, which I think is one of the most fun parts in this industry is, that we all get to participate in same assets, and there can be different ownership groups that all benefit, and the LPs too.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. It's unbelievable how small of a community this is. And we were just talking, and you sold an apartment complex to us that you owned previously. It's just an unbelievable story. And I actually met a broker that we used to buy, and also previous owners. And it happened just by accident on stage while I was interviewing. His name is Matt. So it's unbelievable. And it's a small community, and everybody knows everyone. So in my opinion, it's reputation is very important. It comes to that because it takes a long time to build and to, get people to know you. So it's really important to have great reputation and really, just be a good human. That's what a lot of people say. Just be a good person.
100%. And I think given that it's a small industry and there's, there's no longevity, there's no sustainable path here if you don't have a good reputation, if you don't have a good name. And I think the master of good reputation is Warren Buffett. Like, he's at such a level of reputation where people bring deals to him. And I think one of the things we also see in the multifamily industry, and actually I was just on a coaching call last week where one of the sellers told his programs, like, just bring me your best buyers group that you have transacted the most volume with, that have the ability to close. And this is how opportunity comes your way, is by having a reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if brokers know you can close, and they will start bringing you deals. I mean, technically, we see a lot of deals now. I would say we underwrite, 5 a day. And people are giving offers, just, crazy off. And numbers don't work. And we're like, how are they buying this? Well, guess what? They're not buying those deals. They're coming back. We see deals coming back from November, and now it's June, because people cannot buy them. With today's rates, insurance, and everything that's happening, it's just impossible to make money or get normal returns to your LPs, to your investors.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. If you get a return of 10 IRR, no LP is going to invest in your deal because it just doesn't make sense, right? So you have to know your numbers, you have to know the area, and you have to be confident that you're going to close. That's the most important thing. And also, what's really important is the team. Make sure you have a solid team that each of them know what they're doing, they're really focused, and they just and also you have to know them. It's not like you just met a person and you're buying an apartment complex, which is technically a business. We're buying a business, let's say a failing business, and then we're trying to increase its value and sell it. And everybody makes money. So how can you go into business with a person that you really don't know? So my advice to people is vet your team, vet your partners. And it doesn't take a month. It takes sometimes a year. For me, it took 8 months till I got into the deal with my current partners. And I know them very well. I met them multiple times, face to face. I know the, background, where they work, their families, everything. So it's like a marriage. So that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, and it can get equally ugly with the divorce process.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? The divorce process is one thing, but let's say if something happens internally within the team, not only you will lose your money, but you will possibly lose your investors' capital, which is horrible. It's arguably the worst thing it can possibly happen. So you have to make sure that everybody knows their responsibilities and doing the right thing. Because yeah, you can lose your money, you can cry about it, yeah. But if you're gonna lose your LP's capital, they will not invest with you. Like I said, it's a small community. The word will spread. So it's really, really important to have a solid team and get a solid deal. Don't rush.
Yeah, I agree. And I like, how I've seen you basically from it, and we've been on different virtual meetups together and kind of, we just realized we're just 8 miles apart right now. So we have physical proximity as well as community proximity, and social media makes it very easy to kind of see the growth. And I love the way, you've kind of carved out a niche for yourself, and what's your mindset behind that? Like, what makes you get up out of bed in the morning to do what you do, and also put yourself out there, because you're very active on social media. What makes you put yourself out there?
Yeah, my journey started during COVID. COVID was just strange, difficult, just completely, not normal time where everything got closed. And I got furloughed. I used to be a graphic designer. I got furloughed. And then I didn't know if I was going to be recalled back or not. So we were thinking, how can we control our future? How can we control our paycheck, our lives? And my wife and I come to a realization, mostly her, and she pushed me kind of into it, or nudged me into real estate. So I became a real estate agent here in New Jersey. I still am. I sell residential houses because it's just kind of natural path. And then I started flipping, wholesaling. And very, very quickly, I did that for maybe less than a year. And then very, very quickly, I realized that I needed something more. I needed true wealth, which is, in my opinion, it's freedom of time. It's just freedom to do anything I want to do at any time I want to do it. And the answer is passive income. And I did have small rentals here in Jersey, and it's just, in my opinion, it was more of a headache. All these crazy calls from tenants and stuff like that. It was just not working out. So when I went big, and big, large multifamily, I'm talking about like 100 doors and more, I saw the true potential of real estate, especially with depreciation, tax benefits. We do cost segregation, of course. And ultimately, if you think about it, when a person leaves out of a 100-unit apartment building, it's a drop in a bucket. You're not going to feel it. But if you have a duplex and a person leaves, then that's 50% of your income gone. So and also don't forget, if you want to do, let's say, 20 units and they're separate houses, that's 20 different transactions, 20 different locations, right? 20 different roofs. And it's much more difficult to do 20 closings than to do one big one. Just do one big and that's it. So I came to a realization is that it's just partnering up, always relying on friends. Now I call them friends. And of course, if you go larger, then there's more possibility out there for you, right? It's a smaller community, but at the same time, the potential is so huge. So why I'm doing this is because I don't have my W-2 anymore, right? So I burned the boat, and I saw the true value of time, right? And that's what I'm trying to get and help others to see as well. I'm like, hey, listen, don't be active, be passive, but see the true power of real estate. It's right there. It's all here. So that's what I'm trying to, that's what I see, and that's what I try to teach others.
Yeah, and I think what you said is not for everybody. Some want to do it passive, and not everybody has the guts. And I think this is a very crucial piece of understanding that I'm just kind of realizing is because when we're in our circles, you think everybody in the world is a multifamily syndicator. Everybody's going after the next deal, and it's like, how could this possibly work? Because like everybody tries to buy the property, but the reality is we're like a small percentage of the overall population, and the majority of people don't have the guts to do this, like to put themselves out there, whether it's, for example, on social media, put their name out there, put their brand out there, put their money out there, put their reputation and everything on the line, to buy something that creates value for multiple stakeholders. And not everybody is willing to take the leap, take the educational journey that it takes, because there's those many moments where you and me just feel dumb, where we're in a room and we don't know what we're like, what are they talking about? Like, what is this NOI thing? Like, what are those cap rates? And, going through that journey over and over again, like, okay, I'm learning something today. This is great. And I think the mindset that one needs to have is that we reward ourselves for the learning and the journey more than, like, the immediate outcome. And I always look at it as planting seeds. And you have the same thing. You have that very long-term trajectory, like just be good, you have a good reputation, put in the work, and you also put in, you had the guts to burn the boats.
Yeah. In my opinion, mindset is one of the most difficult things, because we like to be comfortable. We like to just kind of go. We like to do the same thing every single day and just be in our comfort zone, in our cocoon. But because that's our mind is telling us. So you really have to train it. You really have to train it like a muscle. If you wanna bench press 300 pounds, you can't go to the gym and lift. No, it's continuous work. You have to constantly start small, start at 50, 75, go up. Same thing with your mind. Like right now, I started meditating. Right. Honestly, I thought it was silly. I'm like, so what do? You just sit with your eyes closed and that's it. Oh boy, that was difficult. Because now I mean, your mind is always racing, right? Your mind is always thinking about something else, thinking about the future, thinking about the past, whatever it is. It's always racing. The point of meditation is to stop your mind from thinking and just be present, not to think about anything. You know how difficult that is? Oh, I started meditating, I would say, 3 months ago. And I started with 5 minutes. Now I'm up to like 30 minutes. And I have such a huge journey in front of me, I see. But I see how if your mind is right, then your body will follow and everything else will fall into place. Some people think it's silly, and I completely understand, because I thought the same thing. But if you're at peace, if you make quick decisions, if you do everything correct and not just act on impulse, then stuff will happen. Stuff will if you really focus, if you go deep, right? Don't go shallow, go deep. Don't just like browse the internet or whatever, just do stuff. Just focus on 20% that's going to elevate you to the next level. That's going to 10x your goals. So, and I believe exercising, meditation, eating right, and just be a good person, have good energy, have, have, and the karma, everything, and it'll come back to you.
You're speaking my language. I totally agree. Meditation has been a big part of my life for years now. And I think the periods where I maybe dropped my practice, those are usually the turbulent ones where you look back and like, what the heck just happened? And because you're losing the clarity of action. And it might not seem like the best use of your time at first to simply sit and gain clarity and observe. But at the end of the day, it sets context for everything you do in the day. And I think that elevates also the effectiveness and the efficiency of everything. But it seems counterintuitive to put in that time, and just sit, because initially it seems like a big waste of time.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, so I just sit for 20 minutes. I could be doing something else, But you have to really time block. You have to put stuff in perspective. You know why I learned it from, and now I understand. There's really great investor in our space, Pace Morby. He has a subject too, and he's teaching creative finance, if some people don't know. I was speaking with him several times, and he's, in my opinion, the most focused person I ever met. Like, we were in a room with 200 people, he's just zoned in on you. Like, there's nobody else around you. Like, nobody exists between it's just me and him. And mind you, he remembered me several times after I met him few months after. So I'm trying to, my question to him is like, how is he so focused? How is he so just deep in this conversation? And that's why I try to just be present. Because I'll give you another example. You know, when you have a conversation sometimes, instead of just being here and listening, person's already thinking of a next question, or thinking, oh, I'm going to ask him this, or I'm going to tell him this, or maybe just wander somewhere else, because your mind always wanders. Very, very difficult thing. Well, for me, it is that to be present, to be here now, don't think about anything, just completely focus on the person. And in my opinion, not only it elevates you, it makes another person seem more important. And also you really absorb and really listen, not just listen, but really listen to what the other person is saying. And it doesn't only work in business, it works in, relationships, right? How many times your wife said, you really don't listen to me? And because you just be like, hey, I know she's saying something, but you're thinking about something else. So it's a great way to really listen, not only to your wife, but to your kids, to just your neighbor, to really be present. It's really important for just all aspects of your life.
I actually think since we're already going there, I think this is the gateway to create a quality of life overall. Because let's say, for example, you manage to be in that state when you just sit on a park bench and you get to experience the park in a completely different way, because you're not thinking about what happened yesterday or tomorrow. You can just sit on that park bench and see nature for what it is for once. And the majority of us and the majority of time in our days is spent thinking about either the past or the present, or some maybe more like the future and the past. And 96% of thoughts are purely repetitive. So like there is this massive amount of energy in our head that's being wasted on repetitive processing of existing thoughts. It's like redigesting over and over again. And there's really only that 4% that make a difference. And the interesting thing is what you said. So you focus 20% of your efforts, or what brings 80% of the outcome. Imagine 4%, that's all you need, and you focus that on the 20 that bring 80% of the outcomes. Imagine you could just by a little bit more reduce the friction in your head, that 96%, reduce that, liberate that energy, bring that energy and focus it on more of the things that bring 80% of the outcome. That's the focus you spoke about with him, where he is like so dialed in. And I think elite performers, I was just watching a documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger last night. And from the early stage, he wasn't just like physically there. He's like thinking himself into his physique, into his muscle. And I think there's something where outstanding performance comes from outstanding focus. So people that nurture that ability to focus, they just have the ability to go deeper, as you said, and pierce things with more clarity, more depth, overall leverage a different level of outcome.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. It's, in many cases, people think, oh yeah, I'm going to work harder. Yeah, if you're going to work twice as much, you will achieve, your success will be twice as much, right? But I'm not trying to be 2 times better. I'm trying to be 10 times better, 50 times better. So my goal is to decrease the time spent on a specific task. So if I'm doing a task that takes me 2 hours, my goal is, what can I do to make that task into 30 minutes? Trying to be as efficient as possible. Like I'm listening to this book, I forgot, 4-hour work week, 4-day work week.
Yeah, 4-hour work week.
Yeah, that's it. So, because I'm just so focused on what he says, I even forgot the title, but he's just so clear on everything. He's just so efficient. Like even in a text message, even in an email, he just says something so particular. He's like, this is the time I'm available. If you're not available at any time, at that time, please give me 2 other times that you're available. And that's it. There's no more back and forth. There's nothing. Very clear, very specific. And like a lot of people think, oh yeah, I need to make more money. No. You can make the same amount of money, but if you can make that money in half the time, that's the true value. Try to figure that out. Right?
Yeah.
Anybody can make, let's say, $50,000 in a year. Yeah. Try to make $50,000 in a month. That's my goal. See, that's my goal, to be as efficient as possible. And then when I have 11 months left, I'm going to travel, do whatever, find true value in me, in my family. I rather spend time with my kids, ride my motorcycle. I love riding bikes, just be here, have fun, enjoy life. Because you'll never get that time back. So that's the true wealth, time.
I love that. I love the way you also just flip the equation. Like everybody can earn a little bit more incrementally, but you truly change your mindset if you say like, hey, how can I collapse timeframes and I can put that earning into a month? And it's beyond just because obviously I can double my salary by just working double.
You work double.
Yeah, you work double and your life quality goes down significantly.
You work double, but at the same time,
what we see people doing, for example, the restaurant industry is a good example. Like many years ago, when I first moved to New York, I was working in the restaurant industry. And the people that wanted to make twice the money, they would just work twice the hours, and then the wage law was such that after 40 hours, you would make 150%, which then led the restaurants to not give you more than 40 hours. And instead of people earning the money in one restaurant, they actually had to get a second job and go to a second restaurant and then work 80 hours if they wanted to make twice the money. But it like barely struck anybody that that's not the way to go. You don't make twice the money by working twice the hours. That's how you stay poor, and especially how you keep poor quality of life. So I love how you reframed it and like, hey, let me flip this. How can I become so effective and have so much leverage in the game I'm playing that I have the other 11 months to actually focus on what the true quality and maybe the meaning of my life is, which is spending it with family and friends and on the things I love to do.
Yeah. And there's a lot of paths to this. And of course, focus. And you know what I've noticed? Being around people that are doing it really helps. When I was just at a barbecue, just literally 2 days ago on Saturday, and I was speaking we were just chatting with friends, and they couldn't understand me. They're like, what do you mean? If I want to make more money, I'm just going to, instead of working from 9 to 5, I'm going to work from like 7 to 7 or 8 p.m. or something. I'm just going to increase the time. And by that, I'm going to make more money because they get paid per hour. So I'm like, but what if you do this? And they got confused. They're like, nah, that's silly. So if you want this to happen, really hang out with people that do this. I'll give you another example. When I started my multifamily career, I wanted to do apartments, and I do only apartments. Because it's like that's what people need, right? It's 3 basic human needs: food, clothing, apartments. That's what they need. But a lot of people do ground up development, and it's great business. So I speak with a really famous or well-known Dallas developer. And I'm like, how do you know how to do this? And he goes, Vlad, I don't. I just put the right team around me. I just hang out with the people that do this, and I got it. So it's the same thing with your mind. If you want to be in that mindset, just hang out with people that do this already. Just try it out. You never know. It doesn't cost you anything but a day's time, maybe. So in my opinion, trying stuff out now and be out there, be out of your comfort zone, really makes a huge difference. Like when I joined Jake and Gino, right? I am part of Jake and Gino mentorship program, and they told me you have to be comfortable at being uncomfortable, and then you will be successful. So stuff that you really don't want to do, that's exactly what you have to do. See? Things that you want to do is sit in front of a TV, hang out, eat potato chips, right? That's what it's fun. But going out there, making content, going to a conference, speaking in front of 250 people in a Hilton hotel, or, sharing stage with Matt, I was like, oh my God, I was so scared. I'm just being completely honest. I was sweating so much, I lost like 2 pounds in body weight. No joke. Really. I mean, picture 200 people are looking at you and it's live. Really scary stuff. But you have to overcome this. You have to take classes if you want to do speaking engagements. Even doing podcasts or YouTube presentations and things like that. It is difficult. It takes work and it takes you out of your comfort zone. So just try to be a little more uncomfortable, just one tiny percent, and overall it'll get you much higher, a much bigger success. So,
and I think the important part is, I don't know what it's inside our psyche, but it's constantly trying to protect something. But once you realize you don't die on stage, and you don't die when nobody shows up to see your content, and you don't get hurt, actually nothing happens. It's just crickets. And the more you realize that, the more you kind of like, okay, who cares? Like, okay, I put this out there, it didn't resonate, or I was on stage and maybe I bombed a little bit. At least you put yourself out there, you got in one rep. And one thing, actually, my friend and me, we a pizza oven, and we were just playing around. We literally built a wood-fired pizza oven just for fun. And the first couple pizzas really sucked that we made. And then we started learning a little bit, and we started reading up on it, and we got better flour, and we got a little bit better at doing the whole thing. And like the other day, I pulled out the pizza, and it was so perfect, man. It was like just crispy to the tip. And all it took was a couple reps. It wasn't like some rocket science project. It didn't take me years to figure it. And the same is true for so many aspects of what we do in real estate, or what we do with social media, or what we do around building a brand. And it just takes the reps. Like, if you go back to some of my first episodes, actually, funny enough, the first episode I published was with Matt. If you go back to these, some of the conversations are so awkward, man. Like, the other day I listened to one of my very early episodes, and it was such a non-organic conversation. And I was just like, yeah. And I did a little bit of what you said earlier. I wasn't having a present conversation where we would just go with the flow of the conversation and I would actually hear what you're saying. But I literally had questions ready. So I was like, okay, I got to get my questions in here, And then I was just sitting there, and then the person would share something genuinely. And then I would just wait till I have a spot to place my question. And obviously it sucked. I mean, that sucks for the person I'm speaking to. It sucks for the listener. But it's a rep I have to go through to get where we are now, which is a better, more flowy conversation where, for both of us, it feels like, hey, we're actually having a conversation that's substantial and it's not pre-framed, and you have space to express yourself, and I find a space to let you express yourself, But it took the repetition, and that's the beauty. Once we see
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's I don't script anything. That's the thing. People are like, oh, what questions can I ask you? I'm like, ask me anything. If I don't know something, I don't know something. What are you gonna do? I have my niche. I have my area of expertise of what I'm doing. In many cases, you just got to practice and work on something better. I'll give you a funny example. So when I started, I was cold calling brokers just to kind of see the situation and maybe get some properties, right? So I was calling, my area is Kansas, right? Texas, Kansas, and the Carolinas. So one might think, so you were calling Kansas? I'm like, no. I was calling like Nebraska. And they're like, what? Why? I'm like, well, because it's not my market. And I wanted to practice on brokers in Nebraska. Even if I make fool of myself, doesn't matter. Really? They're just gonna hang up on me. It's not my market. I don't care if a broker thinks I'm stupid. So I called brokers in Nebraska. I called like 20 of them, right? So the first one literally laughed at me. But then I started writing all the objections, all the questions, everything on a piece of paper. So after 20 brokers in Nebraska, I started calling Kansas. I already knew everything they're going to ask me. So I just pretty much, and that was in the very, very beginning. Now it changed, of course. But in the very beginning, you need some credibility. You need some backing. You need to show that, you're not wasting their time. Yeah. So that's what I've done. I put myself in an uncomfortable situation, really calling just I didn't know what NOI, I mean, come on, it was just funny. But yeah, just put yourself out there, try like a different path maybe, and see how it's going to work out. In many cases it does. But you really want, you have to want it though. You know?
I love the way you frame this. Like, okay, obviously, if this is not my market, this is where I'm practicing. And it's a bit like a soldier. You don't go on the actual battlefield where you get shot to kind of train and work out. And you go to Nebraska, there's no harm. Like worst case, the guy laughed at you. You learn something. You get one more point of data. You get one more rep in. You learned one more word that's essential for a successful conversation, because there are those key words that you have to use, the lingo, to sound credible. So by the time you get to Kansas, 20-something calls in, you picked up on all of that, and you can have a conversation that's at least long enough to, so they ask you for your email, so they add you to their email list, so they send you some properties occasionally. And yes, you might not be their first call yet. You're not the guy that has the reputation to close yet. You're not the guy that they have a track record with. But it's another data point for them where they know your voice, they know your name, maybe they see your face because you're on a Zoom call, and you're slowly building a relationship that is planting a seed for in a couple of years. Maybe there's a deal to be closed here.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's done. Yeah, it's try to kind of be out there as much as possible, and and in my opinion, education is everything when it comes to that. A lot of people think that they really don't need it, or there's kind of two paths. You can read some books, you can do some podcasts, or listen to some podcasts or YouTube and get educated this way, which is absolutely true. You can. That's the least expensive. Or you can get a mentor and really accelerate your growth. So that's another way. That's the path I've taken. It was a lot of money. Like I said, I joined Jake and Gino, but I've noticed because of them, I grew really quickly. And, I found out operators. Like I said, I'm in Jersey and I'm buying in Texas. So how can I, find people in Texas? I immediately contacted people there, and that was my path. So I believe education is really important. You have to know what you're talking about, because don't forget, you're not in single family space anymore, right? You're in multifamily. So now you're speaking with business owners, with multi-million-dollar operators, with people that do this for a long time, and they don't want to, you don't have to waste their time. You really gotta, be on top of your game. You have to know what you're talking about, and that's how it's gonna happen. So like I said, education is important in my opinion when it comes to everything. And of course you have to take action. Don't just go studying forever and don't do anything about it. If you invest your capital or your money into an education program, take advantage of it, really. Speak with people. Don't just like buy in there and do nothing. Because I've known some people that got into mentorships and did nothing and wasted their money. So most important thing is there is no try. You either do or don't do. So if you really spend the money, because I know it's a lot of money to be in a mentorship, just go for it. Just really commit. Commitment is key, and a lot of people drop off because it's a long game. It takes 8 months, maybe a year, maybe even longer, 2 years, maybe, to get a deal. So you have to be patient and really grind it out. It's not going to come fast. There is no fast. You're not going to get rich fast. But that's how it is in any business. So yeah, give it time.
The interesting thing is there's some psychology to that. The reward system in our brain is wired for shorter term things. And so like the couch potato version of ourselves, that's a lot closer in our brain circuits than, looking at like a decade or 2 decades. I'm like, okay, if I start taking these little steps, 2 decades from now, this can be like this exponential journey. But actually, the majority of us can't quite wrap their head around it. The same is actually true for people working in a corporate environment. If you try to have them achieve something very big, you have to like very incrementally lead them there and appreciate them like all the time. You cannot say like, hey, in 18 months from now, this is your goal. If like 6 months into the journey, you stop appreciating them for working towards that goal and painting that vision clearly for them, they'll never get there. And the same is kind of true for ourselves. We have to really paint that vision like, hey, this is what this could look like. Like Vlad can have the lifestyle where he's with his family, where he's out and about on his motorbike, but it might take you 2, 3, multiple years, to gain just traction. Forget about results, just to gain traction. And then it's like that long-term game.
It does. Yeah, it takes long. Like I was speaking with my underwriting coach. His name is Bill Ham, and he goes, it takes about 80 deals in good economy to get one deal. 80. You have to look at 80. So the scale is, just look at the numbers here. And if you look at the economy nowadays, it's actually on a downswing. So it takes even longer to get one deal. A lot of people are sitting for a year, maybe even a year and a half without anything whatsoever. And they're perfectly okay with it. They just, holding back money and, because they can't find anything. And that's how it is. If you look at even single family space as a realtor, I'm seeing a lot of this shortage of housing just because people don't want to sell. They don't want to get out of their 2% loans that they got 2 years ago. So they're just sitting back and they're like, oh yeah, now they're 6, 7. I'm like, yeah, but you can refi, right? You, as they say, you marry you marry the house and you date your mortgage. So, because you can always refi the mortgage, and when the rates come down. But ultimately, the location and the house, and that's what you're going after. So, it's kind of a thing that you have to look at, but it's still exciting. You don't have to, it's not like everybody got used to cruising 50 mile an hour on a highway without any traffic. And now we hit traffic. So what do? Everybody started, oh my God, panicking. Don't panic. Change a lane, adjust, just adjust, change. Everything changes. So change, adjust, and still make it happen. So it'll happen. If you want to be in multifamily space, just talk to us, talk to people that are doing it. If you don't want to be active, be passive, but try it. It really pays out. It really works.
So what are you currently excited about? What are you working on? Where are you spending your time?
Yeah, like I said, right now my goal is, of course, to be perfectly mind and body to be all in one, in sync. I'm doing that meditation and yoga. That's my personal thing. Of course, I'm enjoying summer because it's June. And when it comes to business, we are very actively looking in Dallas and Houston. We closed on a deal 2 months ago. That was in March, 128 doors. And now on the contract for another one, 204, also in Dallas. So we're very, very excited with what's going to come. There's a lot of deal flow. You just have to get a little creative to make them, to make it work, right? Use creative financing, use seller carry, loan assumptions, you name it. That's what I'm excited about. But I'm always looking forward to what's going to come. I'm not really freaking out or being scared of the rates and things like that. It is what it is. Ultimately, if the seller wants to sell, they'll reduce the price in order to sell it. I don't care what the rates are, what the insurance is. So I'm just looking at deals as much as possible, making connections, and ultimately trying to help somebody. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, listen, I need some connection with somebody else, I know that person. So I'm going to connect them and, help them out as much as I can. So just trying to be as positive as possible, put good energy out there and good vibes.
I think that's how it works. Being a connector is also extremely valuable. There's like some really sizable people in our industry that really develop this skill of just being the ultimate connector, and they're bringing people together, and it refers business. And it goes back to what I said. It's planting seeds in so many ways. You're building so much goodwill. By the time you ever maybe need a little favor, you can turn in so many directions, and people are willing to help you because you've connected them. You helped them before. You helped them close deals because of the connections. It's a great way, especially in our industry. That's at the end of the day, you'll meet people again and again and again. Like, you have one name, so keep that reputation a certain way. So where can people connect with you Vlad, find out more about the deals you're working on, connect with you on a personal level?
Sure, yeah. I'm all over social media. I have a very unique name, Vlad Arakcheyev. There's not many out there. And I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm starting a YouTube channel. But very, very light stuff. I'm not going deep. I'm not talking politics. I'm not talking any of that rates, none of that stuff. We keeping it fun. We keeping it entertaining. I'm talking about motorcycles. I'm talking about CapEx, few painting things, before and after pictures, stuff that's really interesting to people, really, to give them ideas of how can it be. So yeah, connect with me on social media. Reach out. My website is zontekventures.com. Reach out to me. I send a newsletter every 3 weeks or so. Also very light and entertaining as much as possible. So yeah, reach out, ask me questions. I'm more than happy to chat with everybody, make a connection, refer somebody to something. So yeah, let me know.
Awesome. And given the nature of your name and your website, I'll also make sure to add them to the show notes, like always, because so people can actually connect with you. Well, Vlad, thank you so much for your time. It's inspiring to see your journey evolving, and will be very interesting where you will take this over the next couple of years.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, in the next couple of years, we'll be doing this interview from like Maui or something like that, or from like
I would love that. And in person, in a very different setup. I appreciate the vision you just painted for this.
Of course, that's what it is. That's what it's all about. That's what we're working for, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us at The Path to Wealth. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Check out our upcoming guests and be sure to share it with all your friends and family that want to take their life to the next level of wealth.